Yeah, g'day, mate. How are you?
G'day, mate. Um,
G'day. It's a bush hello. Hello. Yeah. Yeah.
I want to talk about something fun today. We've
Yep.
been talking about vision and mission and purpose for the last couple of weeks. Funnily enough, I've literally just finished with a company, a plastic surgery company, where we did vision, mission, purpose. So I was like right in the thick of it. So I absolutely loved it. But, what got me thinking and what got us thinking last time we chatted was around, the importance of health when it
Yep.
comes to CEOs, business owners, senior executives. And I said, why don't
Yep.
we touch on what are some of the health hacks of really high performing leaders? You work with massively high performing leaders. I work with heaps of high performing leaders, and I know what they do. So I thought, let's share some hacks around what they could do in the hope that we could help others.
I think we should, and I think we just need to press pause for a second. So, if this is your first time in the Leadership Lounge, I'm Andrew Priestley, and this is Kylie Denton, right? And we're coaches, and we work with leaders globally, right? And so, the Leadership Lounge. How did we come up with the idea for Leadership Lounge, by the way?
Well, we came up with it because I've just built my new office, and
Yep.
I have this
And it's like a lounge.
And it's like a lounge. I've got this beautiful space that's got lounges in it where I normally collaborate with clients. We do coaching. And I thought, wouldn't it be fun to actually share some ideas and wisdom and hacks and strategies that would help other leaders? And you went, I want to do that too.
Yeah. And there's stuff we know works. That's the thing.
Yeah.
And just for those people, it's the first time here. Kylie and I actually went to university together. We both did our psych degrees together, industrial organizational psych degrees together. So the four hacks, how about you kick it off? I'm going to hand the time over to you, Kylie. I want to hear what you've got to say first, because I've got some stuff and parental advisory when I start talking, okay?
Okay. Well, I'll keep it PG then. Okay, I'm going to share a model, okay, because I've been using this model. I've lost, I don't even know, but I can guarantee it's been over 15 years I've been using this model. And I feel that I learned this model actually when we did our psych degree, okay? So you might actually be able to confirm that or disprove what I'm saying. But it's called the MENS model, okay? So MENS, okay? So it's the MENS model, and it covers 4 different areas that leaders or people need to ensure that they are covering to be able to perform at a high level, okay? So the very first letter is M, and it stands for mindfulness, okay? So what I mean when I'm talking to leaders around mindfulness is, how are you slowing down your mind? Okay, how are you quietening your mind? So for some, that might be through yoga. For some, it might be through mindfulness or meditation. For others, it might be sitting under a tree, reading a book. It doesn't matter. What we do know is that we need to slow our busy minds, and especially for senior executives, they have a lot on their plate. They have a lot on their mind. So M is for mindfulness. Now, for the audience, I want you to think about, are you high or low on this scale? So are you high or low? So if it's high, it is that you practice mindfulness every day. You're doing something every single day that is slowing your mind down. Okay. If it's low, I want you to keep that as a trigger for you. The E stands for exercise. Now, I'm not saying that you need to go and run a marathon, you need to go and run 5Ks, but what we do know is we need to move our body every day. So that could be a walk around the block, it could be a boxing class, it could be a gym class, it could be a run, okay? Whatever it is. So I'm going to ask the audience again, how are you moving your body every single day? So are you high in the sense that, yep, you know what, Kylie, I'm moving my body every day, I'm doing something. It could be a walk around the block, it could be yoga, it could be stretching, it doesn't matter. Or am I low? This is an area that I go, I need to sort this out. I need to do something here.
And this is a lot of execs that you and I work with. They're at a desk all day, sedentary. You know, they don't even get up and move around in their office, let alone do anything else yet. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
the movement's really, really key. Yeah.
Yeah. N is for nutrition. Okay. N is for nutrition. Now, what we fuel our body with today drives our body tomorrow. So how is your nutrition? Is it high? You've got this nailed, you're good at it, you're eating healthy 80% of the time, for example. Okay. Or you know what? I'm low. I'm not eating healthy. I'm getting takeout. I'm eating fatty foods. I'm eating sugar, whatever it might be. Okay. So N is for nutrition. How are you fueling your body? And S.
And Kylie, my body's a temple, so I really look after it, what I put into it. See.
Well, see, the reality of it is, and this is for everyone that's listening too, is that, you know, we have to remain healthy. I know I run my own business. You run your own business. If I fail, my company fails too, okay? And the same with the CEO. If you fail, then the rest of it fails too. You know, where do they get that vision, that influence, that inspiration from, all that sort of stuff? So it's really critically important that we're looking after ourselves, not only for our company, not only for our team, but for our people around us, for our friends, for our family, for our children, okay? For our grandchildren in your case. S is for sleep. Okay.
Yes.
Now, what I'll say about sleep is everyone needs a different amount of sleep. Okay. So I'm not saying everyone's got to get 8 hours sleep. That's it. Okay. For me, I'm really good with 7 hours sleep. I'm good on that. If I have too much sleep, I actually feel a bit, I don't know, low in energy, lethargic. Okay. So what I want everyone to be thinking about here is, have I got my sleep? Is my sleep in a good operating rhythm there? Am I getting enough sleep? Is it quality sleep? Am I going to bed at a reasonable time? Am I, you know, I'm not waking up constantly, but, you know, am I high on this or am I low on this? So once you've come to this scale and I'm high and I'm low, then what happens is we can start to figure out where we need to focus. Okay. So for the people that go, you know what, Kylie, my exercise is low. Okay. I actually need to pick that up. Okay. So what's some of the actions that you can take over the next month that's going to pick some of that up? Or, you know what, my exercise is great, but actually my nutrition's not, or my sleep's not. So this becomes kind of like a thermometer around where you sit around those 4 areas of your life. Now, one of the things that I often get the executives that I work with, or even the leaders that I work with, is I get them to put in their calendar once a month as a reminder that a pop-up comes up and it says MENS, MENS, and it's a 5-minute time where you can sit and go, right, mindfulness, exercise, nutrition, and sleep. How am I going? What do I need to kick up? What can I actually leave as is? So the MENS model allows us to look at our health holistically in 4 different components and start to think about what you can do. Pretty cool model, huh?
Yeah. I think it's a great baseline model, and if you don't have anything, that's a really good one to start. If you want to road test this, how much time would you allow? What's a good reasonable test period to see whether this is working or not? Would it be a week? Would it be 2 weeks? A month? What would you
Every
recommend?
single month.
Like stick with it. So stick with it for at least 3 months. What were you saying?
No, I do this. This is in my calendar every single month. It comes up and it says, right, how am I going? And you know what? There's some weeks, some months where I go, you know what? I've dropped my exercise. I need to pick that up. Or, you know what? I've probably been eating out a bit too much. I need to focus on my nutrition. Or actually, I haven't stopped and given myself any opportunity to slow my mind down. So, for example, a couple of weeks ago, I knew that my tank was running low. Okay, I knew my tank was running low. And for me, it's not my exercise. My exercise is good. My nutrition's good. My sleep is good. But my mindfulness, I haven't stopped. I have not stopped in a lot of months. I booked a weekend away. Okay. So that I can go away. So it was a trigger for me to go, you know what? I got some things going good, but I actually need to focus on some mindfulness. I need to take some time out of the business for just 2 days and go and have some time at the beach with my family.
And I've seen photos.
Yeah.
Looks like you had a good time.
Yeah, well, we will do.
I,
We will, yeah.
yeah. Oh, well, I'm thinking about the last time you did this. I adapted that model ever so slightly for different audiences, but I had women's, right? So I had W was for water, because like most people don't hydrate, and O was for oxygen, because most people don't breathe enough, right? They don't breathe, they do very shallow breathing. And the brain needs oxygen, as you know, right?
Yes.
So the brain is a battery, and it changes its water every 24 hours, right? So if you're just putting tea and coffee and alcohol into it, what the brain has to do, it has to actually take the only place that your brain gets water from is from the stomach, which it sends the alcohol and the tea and coffee out to your kidneys and liver to flush it and brings back grey water. That's what goes up to the brain. So fresh water, right? And what most people don't breathe deeply enough. So just breathing exercises, that can just hydrate. The water hydrates the whole body, but the O just really floods the brain with oxygen, which is what it needs to fire it up. Because ultimately, professionals need to be at the peak of their thinking.
Yes.
So sometimes I use women's. I just extended that one out. It's good, isn't it?
Do you think that's because I'm female and I'm thinking about men and you're male and you think the women?
Probably. Probably, right.
Well, I like that. You've kind of extended it, and we know that fluid is important. The right type of fluid is important, but I think that oxygen and that mindfulness is, to me, it kind of merges together. It's when we're breathing, actually conscious of being in that moment, aren't we?
Yeah. So, there's just a couple of things that I would probably add in there, and it's just a sort of more like some of the people that I've worked with recently, right? What I find is when I'm working with someone, I say, let's do a benchmark first. Like, what does life look like for you, right? And if you just took those 4 areas, like you're saying, am I high or low? You're asking them to calibrate in some way, shape, or form, right? You're asking them to go, okay, where were you last time? So you can do high or low. You can also do 1 to 10 on a scale of 1 to 10 as well. So a 1 means, I don't do any exercise. A 10 means this is part of my life. It's part of my regime. And so you can calibrate those numbers, right? So I tend to calibrate using actual numbers, right? But one of the things that I've found is, particularly when I'm working with C-suite, senior leadership team, things like that, right? A lot of times people have got ideas around their health and they're hacking their health, and our focus here is on hacking your health.
Yeah.
Right. More often than not, you don't have the data, depending on what hemisphere you're in, right? Don't have the data, right? But they don't particularly have that, right? And so one of the recommendations, I was chatting with a guy the other day who typically he's working somewhere between 50 and 80 hours a week.
Yep.
Right. Big team underneath him. Okay. A lot of pressure from board.
Yep.
Downwards, right? And not much support from his C-suite colleagues, right? Plus he's having to make a lot of decisions. And under pressure, I'm looking to, my whole thing was, the business leadership profile that I created while I was at uni, actually, measures where do you go under pressure? Where do you go under pressure, right? What do you like on that? That's what I'm looking for, right? Because who you are is who you are under pressure, right? Particularly in leadership. So one of the things that recently I started exploring with was particularly that particular guy. I'm looking, because we've done psych degrees, how does a person present, right? And so sometimes if they're presenting as, for example, like we obviously look at someone, they look tired to start off, right? They're doing amazing things work-wise, but they're knocking on an empty tank, which is this is why you need the men's thing works really well, right? No fuel. You talked about energy, and nutrition is for fuel and energy. And so they're eating a rubbish diet. That translates into hormones and internal biochemistry. Right?
Chemicals,
And when I did my degree, I looked at MRI scans, and we can actually see someone who is nutrient deficient. They just can't think straight. The prefrontal cortex doesn't light up. as well as it could, right? And when you change their diet, you see the brief on an MRI scan, it lights up wonderfully, right? Okay.
Yeah.
So I would say the one tip is, particularly for executives, I don't want to waste their time by giving them stuff that they could Google, right? So I'll say to them, okay, what I want you to do is book into one of these high-end clinics and get your bloods done. And I've had 3 clients recently where they went off, they were presenting to me as really flat, and they're doing big things. Oh, we just did a $25 million deal. How was that? Yeah, it was all right. So there's no joy in the success, right? So it's a big topic, but for example, what I found was a lot of my clients, the same thing came back, that they're coasting on adrenaline, right? So you're under pressure, adrenaline runs, right?
Adrenal
and
glands,
then under pressure, it turns into cortisol.
Yeah.
So that's where they're getting adrenal fatigue.
Yeah.
Right? But your blood test will actually show that. So it'll show for example, a deficiency in DHEA or high cholesterol goes up.
Yeah.
Right? And the thing I'm interested, because I'm working with mainly a lot of men who are, say, 45, 50 plus, right? And it's like, I was having a conversation with a guy who's a CEO of a company. It was like 50 lashes with cold, wet spaghetti, like talking to him, right? It's okay. That sort of that. So that's what we're looking at. We're looking for how much drive does this person have?
Yeah.
So even though they're doing big things, there's no drive. There's no energy in it, right? So surprise, surprise, if it's and I've got a colleague in San Diego who's a psychologist over the clinical psychologist, and she specializes in working with women doing glass ceiling stuff. And more often than not, the culprit is estrogen issues, right? And for men, it's testosterone issues, right? Now you can't guess at that, right? So you might be doing some basic things like good diet, but it's not converting. The nutrients aren't converting because of what's going on biomechanically. So that would probably be the thing that I would back up with what you've said here is go get really good data, particularly on your bloods. Like I know Medicare in Australia and the NHS here in the UK, for example, you can go and get that done, but it's really, really, it's the lowest level of clinical assessment that you can get. It's just baseline stuff, right? Whereas what I'm talking about, unfortunately, is probably on medical private insurance, where you're spending a fair amount of money, decent amount of money to get those tests done, but the information you get back is so high grade that you can then just determine whether you need to change your diet, or maybe you need to go on a course of treatment, or who knows what it is, or what supplements your body needs, right? So you might be having vitamin C when your body actually needs DHEA, for example. You might be deficient in that area. You triglycerides and all that sort of stuff. And I'm working with a guy in the UK who he specialises in just hacking health through supplementation. But it's all based on your blood tests. But the change in people once they get that and they then get on the right course is just worlds apart. Just worlds apart.
Well, look, I absolutely agree, and I'll tell you from personal experience too. So about 12 months ago, I love what I do. You know that, Andrew. I absolutely love what I do, which means that I push myself because I want to do so much, So about 12 months ago, or maybe 13 months ago, I was feeling real low in energy. Okay. And I knew that I shouldn't feel this low in energy. I got good exercise, I got good nutrition, my mindfulness is good, my sleep's good. I shouldn't feel like that. So here in Australia, and I'm not sure what you call it over in the States, but for those that are wanting to find out a little bit more about what Andrew's talking about, we call them in Australia functional doctors or integrated doctors, okay? So I went and had a whole lot of testing done for that exact reason, to find out where all my cortisol levels, my estrogen, my progesterone, my estrogen, my cholesterol, DHE, all that sort of stuff, everything that you're talking about. Okay. Because to me, I was like, oh, I think I must need a ginseng. I must need a vitamin. I must need this. So I felt like I was taking these drugs or multivitamins to try and replace the energy, where I was like, you know what, does my body actually need it? What does my body need? And I ended up going to a doctor, doing all of those tests, and I actually found out exactly what my body needed. And I could supplement with what it needed, which meant my energy levels just skyrocketed again, which was exactly it. So for those in Australia, for those in Australia,
Kylie, we're overlapping. Yeah, keep going. Finish, sorry.
For those in Australia, it's called a functional doctor or an integrative doctor, okay, so that you can go away and they are a GP, okay, for everyone that is listening, they are a medical doctor, but they look at things holistically. So they don't look to replace it with a chemical drug, okay, they're looking to look at other ways, natural ways to help replace, but still a scientific doctor as well.
And sometimes that can mean removing something.
Exactly.
As well as not a supplement, but actually taking something out of the mix.
Yes.
Right. So you talked about sleep. I don't need 8 hours of sleep. In fact, if I've 8 hours of sleep, it makes me sluggish. Right.
Yes, me too.
So again, a sleep coach. But the thing is, the people that you and I are talking about, they're at that high end game.
Oh,
the focus is you've got to hack what you're doing, and hack is get the information, get the data. Right. Spend the money, get the data. Right.
Yes,
because you're not going to hack it otherwise. You're going to be guessing and playing around with it.
Yes. So I think if we can think about this from an action perspective for the audience that's listening, is that first, do the men's model, okay, or the women's model. It doesn't matter what it is, but really think about that part of it. The second one is find out what your body needs. You can do that through, as we said, a functional doctor or an integrative doctor, or you can do your blood test, whatever you wish to do. The third part is make time for this. I often hear people, I don't have time. I'm probably one of the busiest people I know, and I make time for this because you know what? I know how important it is. We've only got one shot at this. We've only got one shot at this life, guys. We've got to get this bit right. So make time for it. And the fourth point that I might make to really wrap it up is I want everyone to just change 1%. What's the 1% that you can do different? Is it exercise? Is it nutrition? Is it sleep? Is it seeing a doctor? Is it your blood test? What is it? What's the one thing? What's a 1% change that you can make that's going to take you on that journey of better health?
It's going to move the needle a little way. Baby steps. Clinically we know that if you're trying to change anything, baby steps works best. Start with little steps. So full-blown changes don't lock in.
They're not sustainable. They're not sustainable, are they?
That's right. Yeah. So I think the men's thing is fantastic. I just threw in women's here so that I didn't get beat up by a female audience.
I love it. So hopefully the audience is taken away one hack that they can start to apply or learn something so that they can do something different, because in order for you to have a high-performing business, a high-performing team, a high-performing you've got to focus on you first. Okay, a bit like dropping down that oxygen mask, is it? Put it on you first so you can then deliver.
And you mentioned, I'll wrap up with this, you mentioned mindfulness. I'd say make it conscious, right? And so my clients, we actually make it conscious and accountable. So you get no points for ignoring this. Trust me, you really don't. Particularly as you get older. So you get older, it becomes even more important.
More important.
Right? More important. Oh, totally. Totally. You just need, you can't be knocking on an empty tank, particularly when you're trying to grow something or develop something, when you've got all these pressures on you. So, and so you can't sort of be half-assed about this, pardon me, but you've got to be, there's the parental advisors thing. You've got to go really conscious and say, okay, I'm going to make this a focus. So for me, it's about that specific focus, get the passion for it, and you might have to dig and get some mental toughness around this, right? So, how am I being around my health right now is a good question. How do I want to be around my health? Is a better question, right? And what am I committing to? And then make sure you follow through. So as coaches, we're going to find out those four things. Where are you? How are you being around your health right now? How do you need to be around this, or how do you want to be around it? What's your agreements around moving forward? And we're going to hold you accountable. We're going to kick your bum if you don't.
Yeah. You can't.
And we're going to charge you a lot of money to do it.
Yeah. But we're good. We're good.
Someone's got to be the most expensive. It may as well be us, Kylie. Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. We're good. We get results.
Yeah.
As always,
we do get results. Yeah.
Yeah, we get results. As always, awesome to chat. I hope that the audience has taken away some tips that they can move that needle. Okay, to become.
And I'm talking to you. I'm at your house right now. I'm talking to you. Yeah.
Wonderful. Thanks as always, Andrew. Lovely to chat. See you in 2 weeks' time. Oh, actually, no, you're not going to be here in 2 weeks' time. You're going to be on.
I'm going to be walking the Camino. Yeah, in Spain. I'll be walking the Camino in Spain. Yeah. Doing something I love doing. Yeah.
Are you doing that for a purpose? Is there a purpose to that?
There is. You've actually got to think about why you're walking the Camino and before you actually start walking it, because at the end, when you go get your passport stamped in Santiago, you've got to tell them, why'd you walk the Camino? So you sort of want to think, I had nothing better to do. They're not going to stamp your passport.
Right.
So it's usually, you usually do a walk like that because, you've had, in my case, I had big things happen in my life, which caused me a lot of to stop and reflect and ponder and things like that. And, I'm going for meaning and purpose. And so I've been reflecting on that prior to the walk. Yeah. But also too, it's a unique experience. Nearly 500,000 people a year walk the Camino and they love it. So, yeah.
Good on you. Good luck. I can't wait.
No worries. Yeah.
Okay.
I'll let you know. I'll keep you posted.
You will. Take care.
All right, guys.
See you soon.